As I've been digesting everything 343 has crammed into my mouth in terms of Halo Infinite, it got me thinking about some of the similarities it may have to Destiny, a game I've been covering for years now. Open world-ish locations, character customization, storytelling with new content releases, and the growing pains each company has gone through. Today we're going to discuss Halo Infinite and Destiny, what 343 can learn from Bungie's mistakes and triumphs, and how the games may be more similar than you think. It's no surprise that Destiny has had some major growing pains since its development started, 10 plus years ago. Having partnered with Activision, Bungie had themselves something that was completely different than anything they've worked on before. Yes, it was a first-person shooter, but this wasn't just some linear hallway shooter campaign. This was an open-world exploration game with many different planets, quests, designs, and players in the same play space. Bungie would need to make an experience that could evolve over time, have that replayability, and keep the looter-shooter fans hooked with epic new adventures. Now we all know some of the criticism this game has received, and although some other incidents have popped up over the years, Bungie has done a fantastic job at bandaging those wounds and creating something brilliant. Destiny currently is in an incredible state, with multiple teams now at Bungie working on multiple projects. It doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon either. When you think about making another game like Destiny, this is no easy task. I mean, look at examples like Anthem. Everybody thought that Anthem was going to be, quote, a Destiny killer. Then you have games like Outriders, which is pretty cool, it was a fun game, but are you guys still playing that one? The amount of work that goes into content development for these types of games is actually pretty insane, and 343 is next up on the list. We've been told that Halo Infinite will evolve for many years to come, new content being added after launch with possible weapons, armor, and tons more, even possible expansion and story content. Now perhaps they'll go that route instead of making a Halo Infinite 2. You get the point. Infinite is the next big project and home for the Halo franchise. It will evolve, have growing pains, some of which we've already seen. But if 343 and the community stick by these highs and lows, this will turn out to be one epic experience. 343 had no easy task taking over the Halo franchise after Halo 3. Continuing Master Chief's story would require tons of effort, new enemies, and new tales to be told. When I look back at it now, I enjoyed some of 343's choices with Halo 4 and 5, but they also received tons of backlash from die-hard Halo fans and casual players alike. But keep in mind, this is sort of part of the job and the journey. A new game company taking on a massive franchise while trying to add their own twist and story is going to be difficult, and growing pains were definitely going to happen. It wasn't going to be like introducing a whole new saga was going to happen overnight and everything would turn out just fine. The Halo fans' dream game, Halo 4. So with Halo Infinite or any game, there will be some struggles. That's just part of the industry. But hopefully 343 has learned from the previous games and built upon what made those successful. We can clearly see they implemented features that fans loved from the older games and added their own twist as well. Even some changes after the community went crazy with last year's E3 presentation. Halo Infinite has shown some elements of its open world exploration and mission system. And 343 did state that it's an open environment with areas that can be re-explored later on. In the 2020 E3 demo for Infinite, we got to look at some of the mission UI. And although this might have changed since then, it looks pretty similar to some more recent RPGs. You have the map, the cursor where you can go around, and then little nodes for your certain missions and side objectives. Halo Infinite's version will show you the steps you need to take to progress your campaign. For example, you may only be in this area where the chief is and need to destroy these 3 giant guns to progress to the next area. Then later on you can come back, as this is a more open play space. It also looks like you'll be able to set some waypoints in the map itself, so that's cool if you're trying to find maybe a secret cave or something like that, and it'll make it a little bit easier to get where you need to go. Now, one of the biggest issues with most open world games is that they are too open. Now, I don't mean that a big world is not fun, it's just that sometimes there's nothing fun within them. For example, something like DayZ. Now, DayZ is a great game and many people love it, but you can walk around for miles and not find any cool points of interest. Or think of the many clone survival games that pop up on Steam. Many of them suffer from this same issue, it's just a big open landscape with really nothing to explore. So far from what we can tell, looks like 343 has done a pretty great job with these points of interest, I guess. You got these giant towers, and it definitely does make it much more easier if you're in a sci-fi universe. You can make a bunch of things up. Both Halo and Destiny have had customization for your characters. The earlier Halo games had basic looks for things like arms, legs, helmet, and Halo Reach expanded upon that in 2010 with things like armor effects, visors, and some pretty cool attachments. Now, it is said that Halo Infinite will have a Halo Reach style customization system, which is nice. It's nice to see 343 looking back at some of Bungie's previous designs and the systems that fans loved from the older games. As mentioned, 343 plans to tell more stories in Halo Infinite beyond launch later this year. Destiny has been doing this since its launch and definitely has had its fair share of issues, but it's pretty successful at this point. Now, Destiny currently tells its story through the main expansions over each year, and then usually 4 seasons throughout, sometimes some other seasons added because of things like COVID. Infinite plans to do a similar thing, at least in terms of the season's rollout. The first season is titled The Heroes of Reach and is a tribute to all the epic lore and stories that happened during that era of Halo. Now, Halo Infinite may be different though. It may just be armor themed around the current season with some weapons and not necessarily story content or quests in that campaign or open world, but who knows? The big point here is that keeping content fresh throughout a season and not having any droughts is difficult. So hopefully with some of the events 343 has planned, like the Apex Legend events throughout the months, it'll keep players hungry for more infinite goodness. Now, something that is a little side note, there may have been some quote leaks and rumors about Bungie adding some Halo content to Destiny later this year. If this turns out to be true, it would be super cool. It was apparently labeled a buyable pack between Season 15 and 16 to celebrate Bungie's 30th anniversary. The leak mentioned being able to use things like the CE Magnum, the sniper rifle, and have a bunch of different armor from Halo within Destiny in the current game. So that would be pretty epic in a current Bungie game. There is some references of Halo in Destiny, but we haven't had anything that defined, and if that happens, a lot of people are going to go crazy. So if you haven't played Destiny and are more into Halo, maybe you could give it a shot if that happens later this year. But anyway, that's all I got for today's video. I love both of these games. I started making Halo videos on YouTube and then transitioned to Call of Duty and Destiny a while back, and figured I'd make this video combining the two. What has Bungie done that 343 can learn from and the other way around? If you'd like to see some more Halo Infinite and Destiny content, be sure to check out the channel. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. My name's Evade, and I'll catch you all in the next video.